Welcome to Inclusivity Unlocked, the podcast that's all about inclusion and diversity, brought to you by the Association Explorator. We're chatting with you right from our studio in Craiova, and today we will make sure the tricky isms and complex terms from the world of inclusion become a part of your everyday life. Okay, now it's time to unlock. Welcome to today's podcast episode, where we discuss the topic of inclusive and accessible design with our special guest, designer Liviu Mateescu. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And to start, I wanted to ask you, Liviu, could you maybe give us a little bit introduction and share a bit about your background to design?
Yes. Well, first of all, I have to say that my studies are in computer engineering. I studied computer science and I'm a computer engineer. My degree is it says engineer on it. But when I was in college, I got a job at a photo lab as a photo lab technician. You know, those photo laboratories where everybody went and printed out their pictures. I don't know if they're around anymore. Nobody prints out the pictures.
Yeah, but with red room and
yes. We had the dark room. It was a dark room. We actually it's very funny because we're talking about people with disabilities, and the major disability we're addressing here because it's something visual. It's visual impairment. And we had there in our laboratory a room that was totally dark, so we had to do everything by touching. And we took the paper, which was sensitive to light, and put it in some casings that were enclosed, and then we put those casings in the machine that printed out the pictures. And when I learned this technique, how to put the roll of paper into the casing, somebody had to take me to that dark room and show me, like, take my hand and you put this here and you open this and you put the paper inside, check if the casing is very good, very closed. And it was...
so you kind of experienced...
I kind of experienced. Now talking about it, I remember it was a very interesting experience. But what I wanted to say is, as a photo lab technician, I started to discover my creative part, and I started to learn programs like Adobe Photoshop and Corel Draw, and editing pictures, and combining that with my background in computer science, and the fact that when we were little, the internet was an amazing place, and computers were everything, or our entire life. And I think I combined all this into web design, and it's the graphical part with a little bit of computer engineering and some programming, and you have something to present to others and as a web page.
But did you have a chance during your working experience to work with some companies who work with people with disabilities, or like specifically designs for accessibility?
I just recently had the chance to work with some NGOs on a project about people with disabilities, and I learned a lot from this project. The research for this project, and the fact that I got to travel and meet actual people with disabilities and learn about how they navigate the web, for example, or how they use other applications, or what the impediments are for them to do common things that we take for granted. And that way I think I learned more than you can learn just by seeing some requirements, like we need to incorporate in our design something for people with disabilities. If you see on a list of requirements I don't know, accessibility or maybe inclusion, you think, oh, okay, so we have to have some widget there that makes the font a little bigger or heightens the contrast or something that is like common knowledge, but you don't know but the small things. And if you don't research, do your research very good and meet people. I think it's very important to meet people with disabilities because you can learn firsthand about their problems and what they are facing.
Mm-hmm. What accessible design mean to you?
Well, I think all design should be accessible. So, or good design is accessible design or inclusive design because once you are designing a product or a service or a web page, you need to look at your audience and statistically in your audience there has to be someone with disabilities, and if your design is good, then it should also target people with disabilities. And also some of the requirements for inclusive designs are also requirements for search engine optimization or good practices for user-friendly interface, user experience, and so on. So if the design is good, it's already like halfway, maybe even more, to inclusive design or accessible design.
When we're talking about design, we're talking about web design or making posters for this NGO, for example, that you worked with. What it was?
Yes, it's also graphic design, web design. So our audience was NGOs and youth workers. We try to educate and provide materials for them so that they can make their activities more accessible to people with disabilities, more inclusive for people with disabilities. So a youth worker can go to our platform and educate himself, find some activities that are inclusive, find out stories and what it means to have a certain disability and what they can do to maybe adapt their activities so it's more inclusive.
So in a way it's a guide for young youth workers who want to dive into more inside of the topic of accessibility.
Yes, it's a guide, and also I found out that a lot of people that work with persons with disabilities have their own disabilities, so it's common that a person with visual impairment works as a teacher for other persons with visual impairment. So our platform also targets these people with disabilities, so they have to use our platform to get the materials, so we had to adapt the platform so people with disabilities can also use it. It takes in account all of the users, and sometimes the users are people with disabilities, and most of the businesses now don't take that into account. There are requirements for government agencies, for example, or public institutions, I don't know, to make their websites and their online presence more accessible, but some of them don't understand quite what they have to do. So I think it's a very important guide that we have there on the platform, and I think more people should use it.
Yeah. And in the next few minutes, I would like to explore the difference between the words that we already used pretty a lot during those first minutes of our podcast, which are accessibility and inclusion, meaning accessible and inclusive design. The terms accessible design and inclusive design are often used interchangeably. but they have distinct meanings. Accessible design focuses on accessibility with the goal to ensure that people with disabilities can use the product or service. Accessible design often involves specific adaptations and accommodations to meet accessibility standards. On the other hand, inclusive design focuses on inclusivity with the goal to create products and services that are usable and beneficial for the widest possible range of audience, regardless their abilities, age, gender, cultural background, language background, or any other characteristics. For example, inclusive design is about designing a website that is not only accessible to people with disabilities, but also suitable for an older audience, which is easily to navigate with people with low digital literacy and available in multiple languages. I wanted to ask about design education programs. During educational experience, do students understand that it's essential for them to create accessible or inclusive design in their future real jobs? Or it's not what they teach you?
Yes, it's a very good question, and actually most design courses and also universities that teach design have exercises that include designing objects or redesigning household or usual objects for people with disabilities, because it's a process that boosts creativity, because it's a challenge. It's a challenge for someone to reinvent something for a specific audience. But if you look at it from a designer point of view, I think designing for people with disabilities is not different for designing with any other category of people. So if you design a product for kids or older people or I don't know, people that do sports or any other category, you have to take into account what differs them from the other categories of people. So it's a challenge, and also it helps you in the design process, and it boosts creativity. So yeah, that was I was wanting to say that it's a very creative exercise. And I remember I have a friend, also designer, but he studied in Bucharest, and they had for the final project, I don't know, of the year or something, they had to redesign like a wheelchair for people with disabilities. And everyone came with all sorts of concepts. So make the wheels bigger so they can go over obstacles, put a motor so you can
move faster
or so on. But the winning project, and I think it was my friend project, I can't remember, but we talked about this, and he said he wanted to create a wheelchair that was desirable by a wheelchair that enhances the experience of the user. So he imagined a chair that can also sit up the user. So if you have a conversation or if you are walking down the street, you are at the same level with people that doesn't have this disability, and also make it more comfortable for the user. If you always sit, you can have like back problems. Also, if you sometimes go in a straight position, it's beneficiary for the user for the back and the arms and so on. And taking into account the user and the user experience is very important in the design process. Not only the features of the wheelchair. Okay, you can go over obstacles and so on, but how is the user experience? And trying to normalize, I think, their experience to make it as seamless as possible, as normal as like good design blends in. It doesn't stand out. Good design, they say, good design is invisible. So you know you like it, but you don't know why. Because it doesn't go at you and say like me. No, it's a design that just works, and most of the people don't even notice it, but they know it's good.
Yeah, but the question for me is how to collect this feedback. How should designer test it on users? Do designers even do that, or it's the job of someone else?
Yeah, in web design and software design, it's usually another job for testing, but previous tests can go into create some benchmarks for future design. So if a user tested a similar website that I'm trying to build, or maybe another website, it doesn't matter if it's similar or not, you already have some feedback that you can use in your project. It's ideal if you can test with your project with direct users of the platform or the website you're building. So if you have people with disabilities that can test, it's ideal. But the testing process is not something so fun as anybody thinks. Like when you're testing a game, yeah, you play all day and you just if you see something wrong, you tell it. No, it's a very tedious process. So you have to go through routines and push the same button like 100 times, and then go to the next button and the next and the next, and it's a process that is not so enjoyable. So it's very hard to find people that want to test
something with you.
If you have the chance to test it with someone with disabilities, I encourage it, and I think it's a very good experience.
What principles should designers follow? Like we already talked about contrast, fonts, but maybe there are like some specifics you can name.
Yes, there are a lot of specifics. So a web page, for example, if we're talking about web pages, it has a lot of elements. So you have the text, then there are rules for text. The text has to be a certain size, not too small. The font used has to be simple, not you should use sans serif fonts that don't have those squiggly things around it, so it can be easily read. Also, the font should be all the characters of the font should have very distinct features, so you cannot mistaken on small l for an 1 or an o for an 0 and so on. So they have to be distinct, because people with visual impairments, if you have li and they look the same, they might not read it as well. So there are lists of fonts, safe fonts for visual impairment and for accessibility. I recommend you use those. Also, the contrast between the font and the background should be a very good contrast. So recommended is black on white, because that's the standard. Yeah, you use something black writing on white paper, and that is the simplest way. We talked about text. Now we should go to the other elements, which are not so simple, because I think the text part everybody kind of knows about it. But when you have images on the page, the images should have an alternate text that is just in the code of the page, and the alternate text should describe the image as good as possible. Sometimes for search engine optimization reasons, this alternate text is just keywords that you want to find your website on Google. But if you have a photo with a dog that is happy, or someone running, you should say people running, or happy dog, or something, not the keywords that describe your whole website, so it can rank better on Google. So this is a common mistake that some designers make when it's actually not the designer. It's not the designer job. It's like search engine optimization. Guys come over the design and then they change it so it ranks better on Google. But this is for accessibility. This is best practice. So images should be very descriptive and have an alternate text that describes whatever is in the image.
Yeah, but I also think that the reason for that is that if someone like listening in audio what is written on a site, they would be able to understand what also is in the picture. Like it's also about the accessibility of visual impaired in a way.
Yes, that is the main reason why images should have, but it's conflicting sometimes with the search engine optimization guys that think, no, you don't have to describe the picture, you have to put the keywords that you need for Google to find your website. And if you're talking about images, then you have to talk about video. And video is a little bit trickier because you have to have mandatory, you have to have subtitles, but ideal you should have a transcript of what's going on in the video. And the transcript should not only have the subtitles, the dialogue, but also the things that are going on, so like a script
like
in a movie or in a play.
Like we would say that we're sitting in a podcast room, it has grey walls, we have black microphones, it's like two people discussing.
Exactly. Who's in the room, what the conversation is, what's the feel of the room, and so on. So the visual impaired or someone who's just listening to this screen reader that cannot. So you can play the video, you can listen to the dialogue, it's no problem, but you have no idea what's going on. So this transcript can be read by screen readers, and you can have a full picture of what's going on in that video.
Actually, I'm very interested when we will be in this point of digital accessibility or inclusion where AI would be able to do that. Or like subtitles nowadays, they're wrong, from time to time.
Yes, it's also for the people who have hearing problem, but also for the people who are visually impaired, because if you cannot see, you need the description of the scene. But if you cannot hear and you receive the information, or if you cannot hear properly and you receive the information, you see but you cannot see the dialogue. So there you have the subtitles, then you can read and understand. So subtitles I think are very important for the people with hearing impairment, and transcripts are very important for people with visual impairment. So that's why you have to have both if you're looking for greater accessibility on your videos that you embed on your site or YouTube or somewhere else.
And also it seems that if we all try to make those videos more accessible, it will actually broaden our imagination, because we just, generation at least I think I am, that's all about visual experience, and sometimes it's just hard for us to describe some things, like to do the storytelling about what's happening around. We're losing this ability to analyze in a way, maybe the surrounding even. So it might be a good exercise for those YouTubers or just giving an idea.
Yes, I recommend this exercise that I've done unknowingly. I was watching, I think on Netflix or some streaming service, I was watching a movie, and accidentally I put the mode where everything is explained and visually impaired. So the scene is explained and everything, and you can find this option on most streaming platforms. And I didn't know I put that option on. And I saw the whole movie with this option on. I thought it was very interesting. I said, hey, what an interesting concept. It's like a narrator that describes the scene, describes what happens, describes everything. Although you can see it being described by someone enhances the experience. And also what you said, it enhances the way your way of maybe describing a scene in the future or describing something to a friend. And I thought it was a feature of the movie. I said, hey, what an interesting thing. Yeah, they describe everything like I don't know, in a book. But it was accidentally when I skipped to the next movie and saw. Then I searched and I saw that I have. Something there that is for accessibility purposes. But I recommend to anyone to watch a movie or maybe a show using this feature, and it really enhances the experience. I think for people that don't have any disabilities.
So we discussed the text, the photo and the video. Are there any other principles?
Yes, the navigation is very important. So there are people with physical disabilities that cannot use a mouse or use only the keyboard or a small keyboard that has some features. So the navigation is very important, so you can go forward and back very easily. Most of older users, I don't know, they know about the tab button, which goes through the clickable elements of the website, and you press this button and you stop when you are at the element you want, and you click enter and you go, and shift tab that goes back, so you go forward and back. And if you understand this type of navigation, you understand that complicated navigations with menus and submenus and sub-menus and I don't know, maybe they have a picture there that you can also click and are very complicated for this type of navigation, so you should keep it really simple. If you have menus and sub-menus and sub-menus and categories and I don't know, keep them in the page. So you go to the page that has sub-menus and there you find all the sub-menus. You select the one, you go to that page and so on. Even if it's harder to navigate, maybe for people that don't have disabilities, it's very useful for people that navigate a website this way. Also, I reach this example, and I think it's very important when you design with people with disabilities in mind, not to ruin the experience or maybe harden the experience for other people. And so the navigation should be a mix of the two. You don't have, and that's where design really comes into play, because that's when you have to get creative and create a very good navigation experience also for people that don't have disabilities and also for people who have disabilities, and the design should be seamless, and you shouldn't understand that it's created for people with disabilities or so on. Yeah. So it shouldn't affect in any way your user experience. Okay, so we talked about navigation, and there are buttons on the page or links that you have to click, and those links have to, you know, that if you want to go somewhere, click
like
here.
Redirect you to another page.
But if it says click here, screen readers can't understand. So you have to have the text actually. So if it goes to another page, you have the page name here, there on the button, not click here.
Okay.
If it downloads a document, you have to say download PDF or something. Because with this type of navigation, if you go from link to link, you might skip the text that's in front of the button and go just to the button that says click here, and you don't understand, okay, click here for what?
Like so the word download should be clickable, you mean?
yes, the word download should be clickable, but what are you downloading? So there may be 6 download buttons on a page. So the user must understand that there were here you download the transcript. So you say download transcript. Here you download I don't know,
text
or something. So the button should say what it's actually doing, should be descriptive, because if you navigate from link to link, then the screen reader will say what you are focused on. So you go from the header menu to the first link in the page, and the first link in the page is click me or click here, and you don't understand. You have to read the text to understand what is there. But if it says about me, you know that it goes to the about me page. There are a lot of rules on keeping your content clean, and if I show you a web page for like 10 seconds, what do you understand from that page? So the header, the title should be descriptive. The most important things should be a little bigger than the less important things, and so on. The action buttons should be, like I said, descriptive, so you can see at first glance what are your options, and where are you going from there.
Also, I wanted to ask about the mistakes that designers can make, and maybe some mistakes you learned from, for example.
I think the most common mistake is not taking into account all the people that are using the page. If you go into accessibility design, you might take into account being a visual environment. You might take into account the visual impaired, and you concentrate so much on the visual impaired, and you make the content very easy for them, and not taking into account the other users. The users with other disabilities then maybe have their own characteristics, or the regular users that don't have any disabilities, and you change the website and you change their experience, and you shouldn't do that. You should make the accessibility design seem like that's what the design was in the first place, not adapted for a certain
group
of people. Yeah. And that's a common mistake, because when you concentrate on some small aspect, you lose the sight of the whole picture.
Are there any examples of the projects or services that you like, that you think are accessible and inclusive?
If you're talking about web design, I done a lot of research when I started. I think a lot of the early stages of design is research. You have to do your research good, and if you do your research, then it helps you very much in the design process. So I done a lot of research, and I tried to find the most well accessible design websites, and I searched a lot on Google, and I saw a lot of websites, and I gotta say most of them are universities, big universities like Harvard, or some of the northern states universities that are very accessible, and they are built with accessibility first in their design, but the design is so good, so you cannot feel that. But if you analyze it, you see that it checks all the points on the accessibility checklist. And also government agencies like gov.uk, it's a very good accessible website. And mostly like Canada has a lot of government websites that are very good examples of accessible design. So this was my inspiration, but you can find inspiration anywhere. Regarding to other products, I don't know. There's a design that stands out, and if you research on internet, it will probably come up. It's a set of stairs that have a diagonally ramp built into it, that it goes like in zigzag pattern all the way up, and that is a very good example of inclusive design that fades seamlessly into the whole picture and doesn't affect the regular people that are walking down the stairs. That the feel is the same. They see it as a design feature. They see it, what an interesting staircase, and if they analyze it, they realize that that is a ramp there for people with disabilities. And I think that's a very good example of how all inclusive and accessible design should be.
Can you recommend any tools or resources that can be useful for those who learn design nowadays?
If we're talking about design in general, there are a lot of courses that can be found online, but I think most importantly is if someone wants to learn, it should learn from other people, other designers. So this is what I did. I started when I started designing. I started following a lot of designers on their blogs, then on Facebook, Twitter, and so on. And I saw their projects. I learned from their projects, and I think that's the easiest type of learning.
What future trends do you see shaping the field of inclusive design?
I think what's on everybody's minds and lips right now is AI, and I think that AI will be a very big game changer when we're talking about inclusive and accessible design, because AI can identify what the needs are. They can take a web page that many people don't know that a web page is public information. Once you view the web page, it's like it's on your computer, and you can change it. And AI can do this. It can change your experience without the owner of the page creating it right for you. It can change the web page automatically. There are browsers that already do this, but AI can analyze better all the elements of the page, can see what's important, what's not important, and rebuild the page right for your accessibility needs. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a very big advantage in the future for there might not be a need for accessible design in web design, because you just design it and AI will adapt it to what the needs are for the specific audience. Mm-hmm. I might be wrong, I don't know. But it will surely be a big player in the web design field. It will help people with disabilities understand online content and any other content even better than the tools they have right now, because the tools they have right now are very simple, and you have to take each one. So you have a screen reader or a tool that enhances the writing, and the AI can take all of them, incorporate them, and give you a final product that is custom tailored for you, for your needs, for your disability.
Can we maybe also talk about those tools you mentioned, like screen readers for visually impaired?
There are, I think, for the visual impaired, there are glasses that can read the content. I already
experienced?
no, I didn't experience, but I saw a video with this experience, and they read the content, and they have a microphone right here in the ear, so it doesn't affect with the other people in the room. So you're the only one that's hearing what's on the page. You don't need so you don't have like to put something in your ear. You just have the glasses. The glasses are normal glasses. They look like normal glasses, and
you don't need others that much.
Yes, and it helps very much, and probably here too. The way I will be, I don't know if it can interpret the real world and just whisper it in your ear, then it's a big step forward for persons with disabilities.
Liviu, thank you very much for joining us today. It was a very pleasant and interesting discussion about design, especially accessible and inclusive design. I think it will broaden horizons of our listeners. And I want to also remind our listeners to subscribe on our YouTube channel and give us like if you enjoyed this video. We would really appreciate that. And see you next time to unlock the new topic.